Today is buy or sell Tuesday, meaning we're getting into the biggest Charger storylines and overreactions. And one thing I don't think is an overreaction is that Justin Herbert has been playing as well as any quarterback in the league over the last 2 weeks.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 9 seasons together, but this is our 7th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you to the everydayers out there for making us your first listen, and to make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
Daniel, the running game has not been as effective the last couple weeks, but Justin Herbert in the passing game absolutely has, and Greg Roman has put the ball in Justin Herbert's hands more often, and he has been rewarded. One of the guys that has allowed him to have that success is rookie right tackle Joe Alt, and he just came off of what I think is his best game of the season, and my goodness, the rookie cornerbacks are balling out. Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still, they deserve a lot of credit. Joe Ortiz deserves a lot of credit for bringing them in, and they might take that spot permanently going forward.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens when Asante Samuel Jr. comes back. But man, it's hard for me to imagine anything being more impressive than what Cam Hart's done over his last 3 starts. But this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. David, it is buy or sell Tuesday, getting into the biggest Charger storylines and overreactions. And I understand that we've been raving about Justin Herbert over the last couple of shows. But my goodness, has this man been great over the last couple of weeks. And I think it's super validating because you knew that he had it in him, right? And it did feel like over the first 5 games of the season, he was okay kind of taking a back seat and letting it be a run-first offense, playing within the confines of what Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman want this team to be. The last 2 weeks, he's been Superman, which makes the buy or sell this. Buy or sell, Justin Herbert has been the best quarterback in the NFL over the last 2 weeks.
My goodness, when you look at the numbers that he's put up, I mean, it's hard to dispute the fact that he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL over the last couple of weeks. It's 47 of 71, 628 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and the big-time throws, especially the last couple of weeks, he has been letting it loose, throwing the ball down the football field, and he's been extremely effective doing so. In the first 5 weeks, he has 5 big-time throws combined. The last 2 games, he's had 9 big-time throws, and it shows. He has been showering the field with footballs all over the place, putting it on a dime, back shoulder throws, throwing on the run. It just doesn't matter. Justin Herbert is in Terminator mode, and it has been fantastic to watch.
It has, and it's not just about the stats, right? Like, Baker Mayfield, has the most passing yards over the last couple of weeks, but he also has 7 turnover-worthy passes, right? Should have been intercepted 7 times over the last couple of weeks. This last game per PFF was Justin Herbert's best single game grade that he's ever gotten. Over the last 2 weeks, he's been first place this week, second place last week. Obviously, you take these with a grain of salt, but you're measuring it against every game that the man's had over his entire career, and it matches what you're seeing because it is more about just what it looks like. It looks like Justin Herbert isn't taking no for an answer. It looks like Justin Herbert is putting this offense on his back, and we didn't want that to have to happen. Yeah. We wanted him to have a great running game to see how good this team could be if you match what is obviously almost an unparalleled skill set with Justin Herbert with a legitimate running game and a legitimate defense. But just having Justin Herbert play great and having a great defense can win you a lot of games. And just over the last couple of weeks, Justin Herbert putting together 2 back-to-back games where he has over 300 yards of offense by himself. I mean, last week, literally putting the running game on his back with almost a 40-yard run. He's been that guy, and we knew he was that guy, so it's just great to see it, right? It's great to have that validation. It's great to see him doing what he's been doing. I mean, you said it, 628 passing yards over the last 2 weeks. He had 815 over his first 5 games, right? Like that's insane. Now that he is healthy, I think it is making a gigantic difference, David. Now that we see the mobility back, we see the full escapability back. Since he's been healthy, even with the weapons he's had around him, like he's just been insane. He's been Super Saiyan Herbo. He's been God mode. And I know they didn't score a touchdown last week. he still played incredibly in that game. And even with 2 touchdowns the last 2 weeks, with what he's working with, I just don't know if I can be any more impressed because of the throws, because of the insane throws that he's made, because of the great throws that he's made that have been dropped. He's just been crazy. He's playing at a different level, maybe the 2 of the best games he's had in his career put together.
And also, the swagger is there too, man. He is showing the emotion. And I think that right there, that unlocks that different level. Like, we had a show earlier in the offseason. The best version of Justin Herbert is a Justin Herbert that's having fun. Yeah. And right now, I think it is absolutely indisputable that Justin Herbert is having the time of his life playing a kid's game, playing football. He's healthy. You can see it. And now it's back to Justin Herbert doing Justin Herbert things, which is things that only a few people on earth are capable of doing.
Well, and that brings us to this, Dave, from the Salty Dog. Buy or sell, Herb's a mother effing dog. Are you buying that?
100% I'm buying it. He's played with fractured rib cartilage, played through it, torn labrum, played through it, fractured finger on his non-throwing hand, played through it, high ankle sprain, played through most of that too. Justin Herbert is 100% a dog, and the Chargers are very, very lucky to have him, along with the long lineage of very tough quarterbacks that have put on the lightning bolts.
Hard to find a one tougher than his predecessor, Philip Rivers, who was the NFL's Iron Man, the toughest quarterback that's ever played for the Chargers until otherwise noted, right? But Justin Herbert, what can you say, man? And it's not just the Justin Herbert having fun, which, you know, that nodding gif that I know you've probably used 15 times since
I sure have.
It's awesome. It's awesome to see him show that emotion. But it's not just the, you know, the happy stuff. He's been noticeably angrier with his team when they mess up too. Feels like he's been holding this team to a higher standard. He showed that dog in him when he decided, hey, I'm going to lower the shoulder on Tyrann Mathieu. I'm not going to run out of bounds, even though I should, because I'm going to show you that I can put the team on my back. And in these big moments, especially in that last game where maybe he didn't in the Cardinals game, he was saying, hey, I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm going to roll out of the pocket. I'm going to give Ladd McConkey a chance. I'm going to give Jalen Reagor a chance on a big down. I'm going to throw it up to Josh Palmer. He's not taking no for an answer, and he's doing everything, pushing all of the right buttons for this team to succeed. And I think gives just a higher level of comfortability, or at least confidence, that this offense can keep improving. But maybe it should be more Justin Herbert. Let's hear what we have there in this voicemail.
Hey guys, my name's Steven from San Diego, long-time listener. Now that we kind of have the ball rolling on the pass game, run game's been pretty non-productive and kind of lackluster. I see the Chargers moving forward as a pass-first team. Greg Roman's been kind of underutilizing Herbert. He can distribute the ball frequently, and he's got the ability, man. Is this changing the identity of that smash mouth team that Harbaugh wanted? Because yesterday, Herbert kind of did what he wanted against the Saints. I'm just looking to hear your guys' input. Pass-first offense sounds pretty feasible to me. All right, guys, bulk up.
David, it sounds pretty feasible to me.
It definitely does, and it is, and it has been the last several weeks. I think it's been a little bit closer of a split run-pass, and then more so pass-run. So week 6, it was 34 pass, 38 run. Then it switched to 39 pass, 22 run, and 32 pass and 29 run. So that split has become closer and closer to pass first, run second. And at the end of the day, Daniel, if it's not working, you just can't do it. And what has been working is Justin Herbert throwing the ball. So that's where the offense has to go through.
And it's what we always kind of wanted it to be. You can throw the ball a lot and run the ball a lot, right? Like 3 straight games of 32-plus passing attempts in the last 3 games. He had 0 30-plus in the 4 games leading up to that. Almost exactly 50-50 this week. I'm okay with them running the football a lot. But with the way the running game has struggled, it has to be a pass-first team right now. And you also, if you're averaging 6 yards per carry, run it until the wheels fall off. But that's just not the world we've been living in. Yeah, if you can batter them and not have to make Justin Herbert throw it, sure. That's not been the case. This always, with Justin Herbert at quarterback, should be a team that throws the ball more than they run the ball. The problem is you have to be able to protect him. And I think part of the reason why we saw more running, especially early in the season, I don't think they felt like they could, especially when he was hurt. Now he's a little healthier. I think they feel a little more comfortable letting him have the reins, even though, right, he wasn't hurt in week 1 against the Raiders, still coming back from that foot thing, but like he seemed pretty good to go, and they were still running the ball often, obviously. This is the best I think he could look. Justin Herbert, with what's around him, is able to elevate those guys. Yes, you still want to give him a great running game. Yes, you still want to be more balanced, and they have been more balanced. But this, with Justin Herbert, especially playing the way that he is right now, how can you take the ball out of his hands? I don't know if you can. But he probably wouldn't be able to do it if the Chargers didn't take Joe Alt with the 5th overall pick, and the rookie is coming off the best game of his career. So we're going to talk about that and the Chargers hopefully continuing to feed Ladd McConkey and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First thing I tell you guys about FanDuel, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place, so when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. The Chargers this week are opening up as 2.5-point favorites in Cleveland against the Browns team that just took out the Ravens last week, led by Jameis Winston, who definitely gave them a boost at quarterback. It's going to be a very interesting game, but I think Vegas and FanDuel specifically are telling you right now, hey, this is going to be a closer game. This is no gimme game, but I think with Sean Watson, it probably would have been. But if you guys want to get action on this game, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win with your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. David, still more buy or sells to get into on this Buy or Sell Tuesday, and we have a bunch of good ones, but the one I want to get to here is about Joe Alt, and I won't lie, I just came up with this one because I wanted a reason to talk about Joe Alt. Nobody gave me a Joe Alt buy or sell to talk about. So the buy or sell is this for the rookie. Rookie Joe Alt just had his best game of the season. You buying or selling it?
I am buying it, and it was a fantastic performance by Joe Alt. 38 pass blocking snaps, not a single pressure allowed. And I think you look at the run blocking metrics; they were a little bit low for that game in particular. But
he's had better graded run blocking games per PFF this year,
right? But if you look at his entire kind of book of business, it's very, very even when it comes to pass block, run block. 75.4 pass block, 73.3 run block, which, when we're talking about PFF grades in the 70th percentile and up, that's like above average. That's very, very good. Just so I can put that into context there. 6 pressures and 2 sacks allowed in 208 pass blocking snaps in 6 games for Joe Alt. That is undisputably dominant by the rookie right tackle. And my goodness, what a monster he has been. And yeah, he missed a game with the injury there, but came back and really didn't miss a beat at all. He's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know if I'd say I'm surprised. I'm buying this. I do think it was his best game to put out a clean sheet playing tackle against, 2 edge rushers that both had 27 or more pressures going into that game. It was not a gimme game. It was not a hugely easy matchup for Joe Alt in this game. And he still went out there and put out a clean sheet. That's super impressive. I think the other thing, just going to your point of the consistency, is there hasn't been a single game this year that he has given up more than 2 pressures or given up more than 1 sack.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. It just shows you the level of consistency. And it's just like crazy also, David, to think about, like, what have we talked about nonstop? It's like, the keys for success last week. We started, just protect Justin Herbert. If you give him protection, he can light anybody up with anything as weapons, and we saw it.
Yeah.
But also, we've been talking about Justin Herbert getting pressured this year at like some rates that we've seen rarely in his career that's full of bad offensive line. So I guess the question is like, there was a huge debate on who the Chargers should take there. We think the pressure is bad right now. But can you imagine what it would look like had the Chargers not drafted Joe Alt? We saw a 1-game sample of it, and it was awful when they didn't have him out there. Yeah, it was
especially when
really
you're
bad.
Considering the resources they did not invest in the middle of the interior of the offensive line. They can't afford not to have 2 staples on the outside, or else this would look like a completely different car crash.
Well, it's not like they would have taken a guard, right, if they didn't take Joe Alt, not at 5th overall, right? So it's like you would have probably had the same interior offensive line that you have right now, even if you hadn't taken him. Hopefully, we wish they would have addressed it potentially more in the draft and taken offensive linemen there. But it's hard to argue with at least, several of those picks who have been very good, because not only did Joe Alt have his best game, Ladd McConkey had his best game of the season too. And I think it's very fair to wonder if we're going to see more of him going forward, which leads us to this voicemail.
Hey guys, buy or sell. Following his performance on Sunday and assuming he's healthy, Ladd McConkey will average over 7 receptions for the rest of the season. What do you guys think? Bolt up?
I mean, I wish that he would. I'm going to sell it I think especially with DJ Chark coming back, especially with the potential of them still adding someone, because I still think that's a possibility. And also the fact that he hasn't had 7 catches in a single game so far this year. I'm going to sell it, but I don't think you're wrong, right? Like, just because he's not going to do it doesn't mean he shouldn't. I think what we learned, especially this week, is just like, hey, Ladd should get all the targets. Ladd should be a huge piece of this offense, easily the receiver most targeted, and should continue to get a bigger role going forward.
Yeah, definitely for sure should be focused, should be a focal point of the offense. And, back-to-back weeks of 5+ receptions there. But 7 receptions a game means 70 catches for the rest of the season, over the next 10 games, which is what we have left in this season. That would be 100 catch campaign for Ladd McConkey, which would be insane, would be ridiculous there. But I think you also have to factor in DJ Chark, also Quentin Johnston coming back, and they're going to want to get him some touches back involved in the offense. They might go out there and add another weapon as well. We don't know. They still have some time before the trade deadline. So one football, also just the way this offense is designed, I think he should get the most, but averaging 7 for the rest, I think that's just a little bit too ambitious.
It is, I mean, with the way this offense is constructed, but also, if they keep passing it as much as they have, it doesn't feel totally out of the question. Averaging it, though, that becomes harder. I think we'll probably see a game in which he has like a 10-catch game.
Sure,
feel crazy
definitely see that.
And then I think the biggest, test for him to pass after that is showing that kind of body type can hold up if they're that big a part of the offense, right? Because
that's true.
The only good thing about him having less catches is it means less hits. I think he's done a pretty good job. He does seem to do a really good job, I would actually say.
Try to protect himself,
of limiting the big hits that he takes. It doesn't feel like, for like with Darius Davis when he's out there, man, like there's been a handful of times where it's just like, it looks like a pedestrian hit and his body just gets ragdolled because he's a small player by ridiculous NFL standards, I understand. But a small player compared to the rest of the behemoths that are out there. Doesn't feel like that happens with Ladd very often. He's definitely taken a couple shots, but I think he's also done a pretty good job of just getting down when he needs to and kind of just limiting the exposure to those hits. But he's been awesome, man. I mean, like I said yesterday, like he showed, at least for that game, he can be a wide receiver one. I think also just showed, hey, this is a relationship that could blossom into one of the more special tandems of wide receiver and quarterback duos that we have in the NFL. And the Chargers have him, for another 3 years after this, which is great. And he's going to be cheap because
for pennies on the dollar, baby.
Yeah, that was the whole argument for taking receivers early, right? Just getting them that cheap and getting guys that can contribute. But for him, I mean, we saw last year with Quentin Johnston. It's not easy to come in and just be that guy right away.
It's not.
It's super, super hard. It almost never happens. And Ladd McConkey has been wide receiver one for the Chargers this year. But let's get to one more here, David. This buy or sell. I changed this up a little bit on you. This is what it is today. Ladd McConkey in the receivers' last game, pretty big game, showed that the Chargers don't need any more weapons on this team. You buying or selling that?
Yeah, I'm going to sell that. I'm still going to sell that. I love the performance that Ladd had, but I'm still a firm believer that the Chargers need to add more talent to this offense, despite how great Ladd has been. I think adding another legitimate threat only makes Ladd even more dangerous, because then you have to divert energy and resources and players over to stop another offensive weapon, which in turn is just going to open up more one-on-one opportunities for your other receivers, Ladd McConkey included.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ladd McConkey's leading this team in catches and receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. What if he gets hurt? Right?
Yeah.
Like the Chargers have already been not only without DJ Chark, who was their only free agent addition at that position, but they've also missed Quentin Johnston over the last 2 games, who's played pretty well over the first few weeks. So I think if you look at this and say, hey, look, Justin Herbert, he has enough because look at what he's done over the last couple of weeks. I'd say, hey, that might not be sustainable for him to play like the best quarterback in the league for the next 10 games of the year. But also, if you're seeing that and aren't at least having a thought somewhere in your mind saying, oh my God, what could this guy do with a little bit more? I don't know what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? So like, to me, of course, preface this every time we talk about a trade. If someone wants to trade a great interior offensive lineman, sign the Chargers up on the dotted line right away. Teams don't trade starting offensive linemen in the middle of the season.
Never.
That would be one of my biggest priorities, if not. But that being said, a receiver would help this team a lot. Will Dissly is second on the team in catches, third on this team in yards. All respect to Will Dissly, who's been playing out of his mind for a dude who's never shown the capability to be this, and it's been awesome to watch. just because you get another one doesn't mean you can't still use Will Dissly. And I think if you got a great receiving threat at tight end, what you could do in those heavy personnel packages when you have 2 tight ends on the field with 2 legitimate receiving options at tight end, how does that hurt you, right? I think Joe Ortiz will make a move if the right move is available, but I absolutely think this team could
Just
and
tell
should.
Njoku to jump on the Chargers plane and head back to LA with them. That's all that needs to happen there.
I know the Chargers, if anything, need to win this week to put the Cleveland Browns even further out, right? To make it more likely that they would trade someone like him. But we'll see what happens. The trade deadline's next week, and hopefully we'll see the Chargers make a move. But we still have more great stuff to get into, including why I think that Cam Hart might have taken over Asante Samuel Jr.'s job because of an injury, but I don't think Asante might get that job back when he comes back because of how good he's been able to play so far. So we're going to talk about that and how great Elijah Molden has played and more on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, though, I need to tell you guys about Hillsdale College. History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study these things in school? Probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they have not changed the basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, and so much more. And I think college obviously usually costs a ton of money, and maybe you just want to learn, right? And it's hard to get into those classes if you don't have the money for it. But all of Hillsdale's courses are free. They're self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. I also need to tell you guys about PrizePicks because PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. It's simple. All you do, pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And the great thing is, today is Tuesday, which means you get Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25%, even more value for your lineups. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks, and it's also the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks puts their members first, and right now there might not be NFL tonight, but there's NBA tonight. I'm excited to get into that, and right now we have an offer for you because if you download PrizePicks app today, you can use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Dave, we have more buy or sells to get into here. I love Buy or Sell Tuesday, and tomorrow we'll be getting into our fan mail segment as well. So make sure you guys hit us up at Locked On LAC like you did for the Buy or Sell Tuesday, especially if your buy or sell didn't get on. Maybe you use that as a question for the mailbag show tomorrow. But thank you to everyone who hit us up at Locked On LAC and for making us your first listen. If you need a second listen, check out the new slate at Locked On NFL, where they have 2 shows a day. Tyler Rowland in the morning. Later on, you get my guy, Tony Wiggins, in the barbershop, bringing on the local experts, as they both do, who cover their teams every day on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast from. David, we have some really good buy or sell here to talk about, especially on the defensive side of things. And we were talking about before the show, like the defense is so good, we talk about it less, which isn't right because what the defense has been doing has been insane. But I think this is a good buy or sell here from Justin Herbert's burner account. Thanks for, writing in, Justin. Buy or sell with how well the rookie DBs have been playing versus some of the original starters. The Chargers will continue to start Cam Hart even after Asante Samuel Jr. comes back from injured reserve. David, what do you think?
I think before I answer this question, I think we have to remind everybody Cam Hart is 6'2", 207 pounds. So he has the prototypical size and speed and just physicality in nature that you look for from the cornerback position. Just like Michael Davis before, the Chargers and him parted ways, he is everything that you look for in a corner. You've got the size, the length, and the speed. And then you match that with the production. 6 catches on 12 targets for only 56 yards, and that's for the most part of 3 games. That's 50% completion percentage
3+
there.
games. Yeah,
3+ games
starts
for Cam Hart, mostly 3 starts. He's been fantastic. Yeah. I mean, way better than I think anybody could have ever expected him, being thrust into in short notice and going out there and playing as well as he has. I think is a huge credit to the coaching staff and to himself for making sure that you're ready for your opportunity, because this is how this happens most of the time in the NFL. A starter gets hurt, and then a rookie gets an opportunity to go take that job, and it's up to that rookie to not give it back.
But the reason this is different is because every team in the NFL says next man up mentality. But most time when the next man comes up, they fail miserably, which shows you exactly why the starter was out there to begin with. So what Cam Hart has been doing has been ridiculous. I think it shows you kind of the importance of depth, the importance of investing in these premium positions, even if you're throwing a couple dart throws in the 5th round, because him and Tarheeb still have both been fantastic.
They've been great.
Especially grading on the rookie scale. But yeah, I mean, you talked about the last 4 games. He had one, garbage time catch he allowed against the Panthers, but besides that, the last 3 games, 5 catches on 11 targets, passer rating of 63.2 this season when he's targeted, a completion percentage of 50% when he's targeted. This is the bigger part. Per PFF, 1 missed tackle out of his 14 tackles. That's the big difference here between him and Asante Samuel Jr.
Excellent.
Asante Samuel Jr. was never a great fit for what this Chargers defense needs to be, and it was one of the first things that I thought of when I watched Michigan's defense last year, thinking what Jesse Minter was going to do this year. And when I saw it, and guys like Will Johnson and guys like Mikey Sanders still, right? Yeah. I'm like, man, these dudes can all tackle. They are physical. He trusts them to be out there and make those tackles. In 3 starts, he has 1 missed tackle. Asante Samuel Jr. in 4 starts had 4 missed tackles, and we know one
big
of them against
too.
the Steelers led on a 3rd down to a big touchdown they would get right after that. Another one against the Raiders in week 1. Alexander Madison along the sideline misses that tackle. He goes for a 31-yard touchdown. That's what we're talking about. That's the bigger side of things. I don't think Asante Samuel Jr. has been bad, right? But also he hasn't been so good that job can't be taken. And especially with him in the last year of his contract, if he comes back and he's not as good of a fit and Cam Hart is still playing at this level, I don't know how you could take him out. I truly don't, especially because the man's been laying the damn wood out there, not just making tackles, right, man? Like, this dude has been putting it on
making
people.
Some Derwin James-esque tackles out there.
For better or for worse, right? Because it turned into a unnecessary roughness against the Cardinals. It was obviously a big play, and it was always going to be hard for them with 2 minutes left to keep them out of field goal range when they only needed to gain 30 yards.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a ticky-tack call anyways. I thought it was
agree.
pretty incidental contact, in my opinion. He's been great, and he's been laying the wood. And you want to wrap up, and you got to be, if you're going to go with those shoulder tackles, you better make sure you get that dude on the ground. And there's some fundamentals, have to get a little better. The coverage has been great. 1 catch allowed on 4 targets last week. And I think they said, even though Christian Fulton was trailing him, that it was that one Chris Olave catch that he ended up fumbling. That was the 1 catch that he allowed. And he came up and absolutely blasted him and made him fumble the football. So if that's the catch he's allowing.
Evaluated too, man. That was a heck of a hit.
Yeah, exactly. And like just within the lines, right? A perfect form hit where he stayed away from the head, but still delivered a massive pump.
Yeah, shoulder to the chest. Perfect.
Talking about guys who deserve the snaps that they're getting, this one here is from Matthew V, who says, buy or sell, Elijah Molden gets signed to a multi-year extension after the 2024 season. So, obviously, he's played great, but that's not the question. The buy or sell is, does he get signed to a multi-year extension? After Alohi Gilman this past offseason got signed to a 2-year extension, and obviously, Derwin James has the biggest safety contract in the league. But the Chargers also do have a ton of salary cap, and David, this dude, I'll use your words for it, as you told me. He's been a revelation. I can't think of a better word to describe it. He's been awesome. I would buy that I want him because felt like Tennessee wasn't a good fit. It feels like Jesse Minter's defense has been the perfect fit.
And, I mean, hey, this is every defense's dream, to have a defender that's this versatile, that's able to come in on short notice and make an impact right away. He has an 87.8 overall grade, which is the 6th best at his position in the NFL. Also, a 77.3 run defensive grade. Also, we're talking about Cam Hart having no miss or 1 missed tackle. Well, guess what? Elijah Molden only has 1 missed tackle as well, and he has 16 tackles, 2 interceptions, which honestly, after the last game, should be 4 interceptions. This guy has been absolutely everywhere, and he's been playing at free safety and also playing in the box, playing in the slot. Anywhere that he's been asked to play, he's played it at an extremely high level. Hats off to Joe Ortiz for making that move. He's looking like an absolute genius.
And Dave, it's something we'll explore deeper probably in a further episode. He's been their best safety. Elijah Molden has been the Chargers' best safety. And I thought the biggest part of this last game was them finding a way to get him back on the field when the other two guys are healthy with Alohi Gilman and Derwin James. Because last week against the Cardinals, he had 14 snaps. This week, he had 63 snaps. So I think that was the biggest kind of thing I took away is, okay, Jesse Minter is finding a way to get this dude on the field wherever he has to line him up. And it turned into, Derwin James getting closer to the line of scrimmage, playing some linebacker snaps, getting on the end of the line of scrimmage. Alohi Gilman moving around. But Alohi Gilman has struggled parts of the season, right? I know they signed him to the extension. Elijah Molden has been a sure tackler. He's got his hands on the most footballs of anyone on this team. Should have 4 interceptions. He already leads the team with 2 interceptions. He has been awesome. That is a doable contract. If the rest of the world is sleeping on Elijah Molden, bring him back, absolutely. And then you don't really have to worry about safety nearly as much. Or adding kind of what the future of that looks like, because Elijah Molden is young and he's playing absolutely insane right now. And I love every bit of it. What a pickup by Joe Ortiz. Him, Christian Fulton. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think Joe Ortiz has worked a masterpiece. And it's like, he might have some lacking spots on offense, but man, did he put together with a glue stick and some toothpicks, one hell of a defense for Jesse Minter to work with personnel-wise. Jesse Minter has not had a problem working with what Joe Ortiz was able to put around him. But that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you to the Everydayers for checking it out. To make sure you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you to everyone who hit us up at Locked On LAC on Twitter to get your buy or sells on the show. And also hit us up there again tomorrow when we put out our Chargers mailbag, or call into the voicemail line at 323-524-7924. Hopefully we'll be getting a call from a theater tomorrow for the voicemail show. Excited to hear from all of you, but you can also find the show every day on our Instagram at Locked On Chargers, our Facebook page at Locked On Chargers, and also me at Dan Talk Sports and David at Dro Talk SD on Twitter. We both post the show to our pages every single day. But hey, man, a lot to be excited about right now. Can't wait to get into the rest of the week with a big game coming up against the Cleveland Browns. A game that got tougher, but a game they absolutely should win. So we'll get into all that in our Chargers mailbag tomorrow. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.